No one knows who wrote it. No one knows why it was written. No one can even read it. For over 100 years, the world's greatest cryptographers have tried to unlock its secrets, and every single one has failed. This is the Voynich Manuscript, the most mysterious book ever created. Chapter 2. The Discovery. Before becoming the world's most mysterious book, the Voynich Manuscript remained hidden for centuries. Its modern story begins in 1912, when Polish rare book dealer and antiquarian Wilfrid Voynich travelled to Italy in search of forgotten medieval manuscripts. His journey led him to Villa Mondragone, a magnificent Renaissance villa located in the hills of Monte Porzio Catone, just outside Rome. The estate had once served as a papal residence, but by the early 20th century it was owned and administered by the Jesuit order. Facing financial difficulties, the Jesuits quietly decided to sell part of their extraordinary library to trusted book dealers, hoping to raise funds while keeping the transaction as discreet as possible. Among the collection of roughly 30 rare manuscripts that Voynich purchased was one unlike anything he had ever seen. Bound in fine vellum, the mysterious book contained hundreds of pages filled with unknown writing, bizarre botanical illustrations, astronomical diagrams, strange zodiac wheels, and enigmatic women bathing in green pools connected by intricate tubes. No title, author, or language could be identified. Wilfrid Voynich immediately realized he had discovered something extraordinary. But the manuscript held an even greater surprise. Hidden inside its pages was a folded Latin letter dated 1665 or 1666. The letter had been written by Johannes Marcus Marci, a renowned physician, scientist, and rector of Charles University in Prague. It was addressed to one of the most famous scholars of the 17th century, the Jesuit polymath Athanasius Kircher. Kircher was celebrated throughout Europe for his knowledge of ancient languages, Egyptian hieroglyphs, mathematics, astronomy, and cryptography. Many believed that if anyone could decipher an impossible manuscript, it was Athanasius Kircher. In his letter, Marci explained that the mysterious manuscript had previously belonged to the Prague alchemist and scholar Georg Baresch, who had spent years trying unsuccessfully to understand its strange script. After Baresch's death, the book passed into Marci's possession. Unable to solve its mystery himself, he decided to send it to Kircher in Rome, hoping the brilliant Jesuit scholar could finally unlock its secrets. The letter also included a remarkable claim that would become one of the greatest legends surrounding the manuscript. According to information Marci had received, Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II had supposedly purchased the manuscript for 600 gold ducats, an enormous fortune at the time, because he believed it had been written by the medieval English philosopher and Franciscan friar Roger Bacon. Although modern research strongly suggests that Roger Bacon was not the author, this story helped transform the manuscript into one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. After Marci mailed the manuscript to Athanasius Kircher, the book vanished from historical records for more than 2 centuries. Most historians believe it remained inside the library of the Collegio Romano, the Jesuits' principal college in Rome. Following political upheavals in 19th century Italy, many of the college's precious manuscripts were transferred to Villa Mondragone for safekeeping. There, in 1912, Wilfrid Voynich unknowingly rediscovered the forgotten codex. His purchase would forever change the history of one of the world's most enigmatic books. Without the Latin letter preserved inside the manuscript, researchers would know almost nothing about its journey through the centuries. That single document became the first crucial clue in tracing the provenance of the Voynich Manuscript and transformed a forgotten medieval codex into one of history's greatest unsolved puzzles. Today, more than 100 years after Wilfrid Voynich revealed the manuscript to the world, its mysterious writing remains undeciphered, continuing to fascinate historians, cryptographers, linguists, and millions of curious readers around the globe. But the real mystery wasn't where the book was found. It was when it had been written. Chapter 3: Carbon Dating. One of the biggest turning points in the investigation came when scientists finally had the opportunity to analyze the manuscript using one of archaeology's most reliable dating techniques, radiocarbon dating, better known as carbon-14. This method measures the gradual decay of radioactive carbon found in organic materials, allowing researchers to estimate when an object was created. Since the Voynich manuscript is written on animal parchment, the pages themselves could reveal their true age. The results surprised almost everyone. The parchment was dated to a period between 1404 and 1438, placing its origin firmly in the early 15th century, more than 500 years ago. This discovery immediately eliminated one of the most popular theories surrounding the manuscript. For decades, many skeptics had argued that the Voynich manuscript was nothing more than an elaborate 20th century hoax, perhaps created by Wilfrid Voynich himself to deceive collectors and historians. But the carbon-14 analysis made that explanation virtually impossible. The parchment existed centuries before Voynich ever discovered it. The scientific examination didn't stop there. Researchers also analyzed the inks and pigments used throughout the manuscript. Their composition proved consistent with materials commonly available during the medieval period. Nothing suggested the use of modern chemicals, synthetic dyes, or pigments that would have exposed the manuscript as a recent forgery. Even the parchment itself displayed the characteristics expected from high-quality medieval craftsmanship, matching the age indicated by the radiocarbon tests. Piece by piece, the evidence pointed in the same direction. The Voynich manuscript was not a modern fake. It was a genuine medieval artifact. And yet, this conclusion only deepened the mystery. Because if the manuscript truly originated in the early 1400s, who possessed the knowledge, resources, and extraordinary dedication to create such an elaborate book? Why fill hundreds of pages with an unknown script, impossible plants, mysterious diagrams, and illustrations that continue to defy interpretation? Science had solved one question: the manuscript was authentic. But its greatest secret remained completely untouched. If the book is genuine, who could possibly have written it? Chapter 4: Inside the Book. At first glance, the Voynich manuscript resembles a medieval encyclopedia. Every page is covered with intricate illustrations and dense paragraphs of mysterious text. Yet the longer you examine it, the stranger it becomes. Historians generally divide the manuscript into several distinct sections, each seemingly dedicated to a different subject. But while the illustrations appear organized, their true meaning remains completely unknown. The botanical section. The largest portion of the manuscript is devoted to plants. Hundreds of detailed botanical drawings fill its pages. Some resemble familiar herbs or flowers found throughout medieval Europe. Others contain leaves, roots, and blossoms unlike anything known to modern science. Researchers have spent decades comparing these illustrations with thousands of real plant species. Occasionally, they recognize a familiar leaf or stem, but the remaining parts refuse to match any known organism. Some scholars believe the artist combined multiple plants into symbolic illustrations. Others suggest these could represent extinct species, imaginary medicinal herbs, or coded representations intended only for initiated readers. To this day, no complete botanical identification has ever been accepted. The astronomical section. Turning the page reveals another mystery. Circular diagrams dominate the manuscript, surrounded by stars, suns, crescents, and celestial symbols. Some pages appear to depict constellations, while others resemble astronomical charts used by medieval scholars. Several illustrations contain repeating geometric patterns that seem carefully calculated, suggesting that whoever created the manuscript possessed considerable knowledge of astronomy. Whether these diagrams describe the heavens, mark the passage of time, or encode entirely different information remains unknown. The zodiac section. Among the manuscript's most recognizable illustrations are its zodiac diagrams. The familiar symbols of Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and the other zodiac signs appear arranged in elaborate circular designs. Surrounding each sign are dozens of small female figures, many holding stars or standing inside tiny compartments connected like the hours of a clock. Some researchers believe these women represent astronomical cycles, months of the year, or astrological influences. Others suspect they illustrate rituals or symbolic concepts that have been lost to history. Despite centuries of study, no interpretation has achieved scholarly consensus. The biological section. Then comes the manuscript's most unsettling chapter. The pages suddenly fill with naked female figures immersed in pools of green liquid. They move through an intricate network of tubes, pipes, and interconnected chambers that resemble both human anatomy and elaborate machinery. Some women appear to emerge from one vessel only to enter another. Others interact with strange structures that defy any obvious biological explanation. Are these anatomical illustrations, alchemical processes, medical treatments, fertility rituals, symbolic representations of the human body? No one knows. This extraordinary section remains one of the greatest obstacles to understanding the manuscript's true purpose. The pharmaceutical section. Near the end of the book, the illustrations become more familiar once again. Individual plant roots are carefully separated and displayed beside rows of ornate containers, jars, and apothecary vessels. Short paragraphs accompany each drawing, resembling recipes, formulas, or medicinal instructions. If the botanical section introduced mysterious plants, this final collection appears to explain how they might have been prepared or used. But because the text itself has never been deciphered, even these seemingly practical pages remain silent. Taken together, these sections suggest that the Voynich manuscript was created according to a deliberate plan rather than at random. It follows a logical progression from plants to the stars, from astrology to the human body, and finally to medicine. Yet every attempt to understand that journey ends at the same obstacle. The illustrations seem meaningful, the structure appears intentional, but the message hidden behind them remains as mysterious today as it was 6 centuries ago. Chapter 5. Can anyone read it? The unbreakable language. For more than a century, Some of the world's brightest minds have pursued the same impossible question. What does the Voynich Manuscript actually say? The investigation has crossed every academic boundary imaginable. Cryptographers searched for hidden ciphers. Linguists examined its grammar, searching for traces of forgotten languages. Historians compared its symbols with medieval traditions, hoping to uncover its cultural origins. Mathematicians analyzed the manuscript as a system of patterns, probabilities, and statistical structures. Researchers connected with government code-breaking efforts studied its pages, wondering whether it concealed an encrypted message. Universities around the world devoted years of research to its mysteries. As computers became more powerful, algorithms joined the search. Then came artificial intelligence, capable of processing millions of linguistic relationships in seconds. Each new generation believed it possessed the tools that previous generations lacked. Each arrived with confidence, each left with more questions than answers. Because the manuscript refuses to behave like a simple hoax, its text is not random. The words repeat with remarkable consistency. Certain terms appear exactly where similar concepts would be expected to occur. Some words cluster together, others never appear side by side. The distribution follows measurable statistical laws. Its vocabulary has frequency patterns strikingly similar to those found in natural human languages. Its sentences display internal structure. Its symbols obey rules. Again and again, researchers discover evidence that the text was written according to an organized linguistic system. And yet, no one has translated a single sentence with certainty. Not one paragraph, not one line, not even one unquestionable word. The manuscript stands in a category almost entirely its own. It looks like language. It behaves like language. It follows the mathematics of language, but its meaning remains completely beyond our reach. After hundreds of years, despite every advance in cryptography, linguistics, computing, and artificial intelligence, the Voynich Manuscript still guards its secret in absolute silence. Is it really a language? If the Voynich Manuscript is not a simple cipher, then what is it? This question has divided researchers for generations. At first glance, the writing behaves like a real language. The words have consistent lengths. Some appear frequently, others are incredibly rare. Certain symbols almost always appear together. Some words are found only in specific sections of the manuscript, while others appear throughout the entire book. These are not the characteristics of random scribbles. They are the fingerprints of an organized system. Linguists see grammar, statisticians see structure, computer scientists see patterns. Artificial intelligence detects relationships that resemble those found in known human languages. Yet every attempt to identify that language ends in failure. It doesn't match Latin, or Greek, or Hebrew, or Arabic, or any known European, Middle Eastern, or Asian language. It isn't simply encoded English, German, or Italian. It doesn't behave like a substitution cipher. It doesn't behave like a transposition cipher. And it doesn't fit any known encryption method from the 15th century. Some researchers believe it represents a forgotten language that has since disappeared from history. Others suggest it may be an invented language created specifically for this manuscript. A few even argue that it could be an elaborate hoax, an extraordinary work of meaningless text designed to imitate the appearance of language. But that explanation raises an even greater mystery. If it is nonsense, why does it follow linguistic rules so consistently? Why does its statistical structure resemble genuine human communication? Why has every modern computer, every mathematical model, and every AI system failed to expose it as random? The deeper scientists look, the more the manuscript refuses to reveal its true nature. It exists in a strange space between language and code, between meaning and mystery. A book that seems determined to be understood, yet has resisted every attempt to understand it for more than 600 years. If it behaves like a real language, why can't anyone understand it? Chapter 6. The Biggest Theories. Theories: hoax, cipher, or lost knowledge. For centuries, the Voynich Manuscript has resisted every attempt at explanation. Unable to read its words, researchers have been forced to ask a different question. What if we've been asking the wrong one? Today, three major theories dominate the debate. Each offers a radically different answer. Each explains part of the mystery, and each leaves important questions unanswered. The first theory: the manuscript is an elaborate hoax. Perhaps it was created to deceive a wealthy collector. Its mysterious alphabet, its impossible plants, its unreadable text. Together, they could have formed the perfect illusion of forbidden knowledge. After all, rare manuscripts were incredibly valuable during the Renaissance. A convincing fake could have been worth a fortune. But this theory has a serious weakness. Creating hundreds of pages filled with carefully structured writing would have required an astonishing amount of time and effort. Even more puzzling, why would a hoax follow statistical patterns that resemble a real language? The second theory: the manuscript is an encrypted document. Its strange alphabet may conceal an ordinary language beneath layers of sophisticated encryption. Perhaps it contains scientific discoveries, medical knowledge, religious teachings, or secrets intended for only a handful of readers. This idea has attracted generations of professional codebreakers. Yet no known cipher from the 15th century behaves quite like the Voynich text. If it is encrypted, its method remains completely unknown. Then there is the third possibility, that the manuscript was never meant to hide an existing language. Instead, it may be written in one that no longer exists, or perhaps one that existed only inside the mind of its creator. An invented language, built from its own grammar, its own vocabulary, its own internal logic. If that is true, there may be no dictionary waiting to be discovered, no bilingual inscription, no forgotten key hidden in another archive. Only a language that vanished with the person who created it. Three theories: a brilliant fraud, an unbreakable cipher, or the last surviving witness to a lost way of writing. Each is possible, none has been proven. And until the manuscript finally gives up its voice, every explanation remains only a theory. The greatest mystery is not that we have so many answers. It is that after 6 centuries, we still don't know which question to ask. Every theory explains part of the mystery. None explain all of it. Chapter 7. Why the mystery survives. Beyond science, the legends of the Voynich Manuscript. When evidence runs out, imagination begins. Over the centuries, the Voynich Manuscript has inspired countless theories. Some are grounded in history, others belong to the realm of legend. Among the earliest names connected to the manuscript is Roger Bacon, a 13th century English philosopher, scientist, and Franciscan friar. Centuries ahead of his time, Bacon studied mathematics, optics, astronomy, and experimental science. His reputation as a brilliant thinker eventually gave rise to rumors that he possessed forbidden knowledge. By the 17th century, some believed the mysterious manuscript had been written by Bacon himself. but modern analysis tells a different story. Radiocarbon dating places the parchment in the early 15th century, more than 100 years after Bacon's death. The timeline simply doesn't fit. Another figure appears far more often in the manuscript's history: John Dee, mathematician, astronomer, advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, a man fascinated by alchemy, cryptography, and the hidden forces of nature. Dee owned one of the largest libraries in Europe. He spent years searching for ancient wisdom believed to have been lost since antiquity. Traveling with him was Edward Kelly, an alchemist and self-proclaimed spiritual medium. Kelly claimed he could communicate with angels through a crystal stone. Together, Dee and Kelly sought divine knowledge in mysterious languages they believed were revealed from heaven. Some historians have wondered, could the manuscript have passed through their hands? Did they acquire it during their travels across Central Europe, or perhaps even help create the legends surrounding it? There is no definitive evidence, only intriguing coincidences. Then the theories become even more extraordinary. Some claim the manuscript records forgotten alchemical formulas. Others believe it preserves the knowledge of an unknown civilization. Some see coded astronomical observations. Others imagine secret societies protecting dangerous discoveries. And, inevitably, there are those who suggest it came from somewhere beyond Earth, an alien language, a message from another civilization, a book not meant for human understanding. These ideas capture the imagination, but none are supported by credible evidence. The truth is both simpler and far more mysterious. After centuries of investigation, no theory has survived the weight of proof. Not the scholars, not the cryptographers, not the mystics, not the dreamers. The Voynich Manuscript continues to exist in the narrow space between history and myth. A real book, written by real hands, filled with real ink, yet wrapped in questions that refuse to disappear. Perhaps one day, someone will finally unlock its meaning, or perhaps its greatest purpose was never to provide answers, but to remind us that even in an age of satellites, supercomputers, and artificial intelligence, some mysteries still endure. Perhaps the greatest mystery of the Voynich Manuscript is not what it says, but why no one was ever meant to understand it.